Yo guys, I'm back again with another tutorial, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a kind of simple one. It's on how to beat match. Beat matching is basically the core principle of DJing, and it basically means for you to lay the two beats of a track on top of each other so you can smoothly transition from one to another. And beat matching is basically just having each of the beats kind of aligned together. So I'm going to be teaching you guys how to do it now. Basically, for beat matching, the things you want to really pay attention to are the tempo sliders. These are basically going to adjust the pitch of the track, take it from whatever BPM you need it to go from to align with the other BPM of the other track. Next, you're going to have your cue button, and this is what you're going to be using to time your transitions and your beat matching. Now, this is an essential part to beat matching, to use timing to your advantage. So these two channel buttons are helpful for knowing which channel is going to be going into your headphones. And basically your headphone jack is going to be just over here at the bottom. On most CDJs it's at the bottom of the mixer, I believe, and on different kind of controllers they have them either on top or just to the side somewhere, so you can definitely find it in there somewhere. The headphones that you use and the channel kind of coincide to each other, so whichever channel you choose, that's the one that's going to be directly inputted into your headphones, and that's what you're going to be using to basically beat match. Some controllers have and some don't, but basically you'll have your control screen where you can see the beats and the bars that show where the beats are, so you can kind of beat match visually. But basically all you need is just your headphones and whatever channel, and of course your jog wheel. So your jog wheel is going to help you to align the two tracks once you've started to play them, and you either spin the jog wheel clockwise to kind of speed it up or counterclockwise to slow it down. You also have your option to sync it, but we're not going to be using that. That's more for beginners or people who don't really want to beat match and just take the easy way out, but no judgment, just so today we're going to be using two tracks, Coos and Luarn 911 and Felix Bold So High, so I'll link both of those down below. Essentially what I'm going to be doing is playing the first track, and then in my headphones I have the second track, which is all the way down so you can't hear it. I have it channeled into my headphones so I can hear this second track through my headphones when I cue it, but the speakers and everyone else won't be able to hear it. They'll only be able to hear the first track. So once the first track starts, during the build-up I start to cue my second track, and I can hear it in my headphones at the same time as listening to the first track. So it helps me to kind of get the rhythm of the first track, and eventually when the drop starts of the first track is when I hold cue, and then while simultaneously holding the cue button, I press the play button, and when I let go, the second track keeps playing. So this is a really helpful technique, or you can just simply cue the button and then hit play, and that's it. When I hit the play button, I'm going to start to listen in on how the two beats are matched inside my headphones, and if they're aligned, I leave it alone, and I kind of turn down the low frequency knob, and I like to turn a little bit of the high frequency knob, sometimes not always, but for this one I'm going to be using just the low frequency knob. And then I turn it down when it's both aligned, and then I start to bring up the faders so now the crowd can hear both of the tracks playing at once. And then eventually, depending on what kind of track you're mixing, you either want to switch the two basses immediately at some kind of point in the track, or you just want to kind of blend the two bass lines in if there's no bass lines in, one of the tracks, or the bass lines don't conflict with each other. For these two tracks, both of them are at 124 BPM, so I won't have to be using the pitch sliders, so that's okay. And yeah, basically that's it. Also for the headphones, you can either have it so you can only hear your second track in your headphones, which is the cue, which is what you're cueing, channel 2, the second track. You can have it for mixing, so you can hear both the tracks, or you can have it in master, so you basically hear it as it is with these. So if I played the master right now, in my headphones I would only hear the first track, because this one is all the way down. So if I brought it up halfway, I would hear the full volume of this track and half the volume of that, and then both at the same time. So basically what you want to do is you want to mix when you are beat matching, and you want to cue in the second track while you're in the mixing state, and then as soon as you have the beats aligned and you're ready to kind of bring up the second track, you switch it over to the master, and then you can kind of hear it go up through your headphones. Now most DJs, they just leave it in the mixing part because that's basically all you need. And then once they have beat match, instead of turning it over to the master knob, they just take off their headphones and listen in on how it is on the speakers and just bring up the track like that. Those are the two options that you have, but today I'll just be switching it over to the master. So yeah, let's get started. Let's start with the first track, and we're gonna be going straight from the build up. So yeah, that was beat matching from the first track to the second one. Basically what I did was started this track, had it in mixing state, and I queued up the second track in my headphones. Once the beat had hit, I pressed play, and then I eventually, from there, I you can either hear when you either hit the cue button too late or you hit it too soon, and then from there you can adjust using the jog wheel. Once you have them both aligned, you switch into the master, or you just take off your headphones, and then you bring up eventually the second track until you can switch the basses and just completely cut out the first track and move on to the second one. So I'm going to be moving on and showing you two other examples of tracks with different BPMs. So moving on, I'm going to be using a track from one of my good friends, Silence, and it's one of his IDs, but it's now out, so you guys can check it out. And I'm going to be using a second track, Mismo Modern City K-Blade Remix. And as you can see, the first track is at 124 BPM, while the second track is at 128. So in this case, what you want to do is either bring up the first track to 128 when you're starting to mix, of course. But if the first track is already playing and it's at 124, then obviously you want to go to the second track and bump it down to 124. So now that they're both at the exact same tempo, then you can start going into your beat matching. Now, what's different when you use the pitch slider and slow down or speed up a track when you're beat matching is that it's gonna play faster than it is, and sometimes the sound is gonna be a little bit off. What you want to make sure is to have them at the same BPM. Sometimes the pitch fader can get knocked up or down, and that makes a dramatic difference in your beat matching. So if they're at two different tempos, then even if you do beat match, the first track, if it's faster, if it's at 128 compared to 124, then it's just going to go faster and it's just going to get off time, or if it's slower, it's just going to slow down while the two tracks kind of separate. So you want to make sure that they're both at the exact same BPM, and then from there it's basically the exact same for beat matching. You just kind of cue in the second track, hit play, kind of spin the jog wheel to both beat match them, and then you transition. So let's try this one out. So yeah, basically that was going from 2 tracks that are at different BPMs. I had to bump it down some BPMs to have the beats, to have the 2 tracks at the same BPM, but in the end, you basically saw that it all worked out. Through my transition, it was slightly off, but then through kind of, you know, using the jog wheel to adjust it, I got it back on track and then eventually transitioned it into the second track. So that was a tutorial on beat matching. It was kind of a beginner's one, not really that in depth, but nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed and hopefully it helped some of you. So if it did, make sure to let me know down in the comments below. And if you guys have any more questions, also leave them down below. Make sure to subscribe, follow me on Instagram and on Facebook, and yeah, just share this video around. Peace.